everyone, I'm Nick Marshall, the Managing Director of Amiga Red Group. I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Grounded in Safety. Anchored, connected, protected. A platform built to inform, educate and inspire those working in power earthing, lightning protection and height safety services, from design, installation, asset management through to repairs and everything else in between. At Amiga Red Group, we firmly believe knowledge shared is safety multiplied. This podcast opens real conversation with industry experts, sharing insights, experiences and practical guidance to help raise the standards across our sector. Whether you're on site, in the office or simply curious, there's something here for you. Our mission is simple. It's about raising the bar by connecting people, elevating expertise and championing safety in everything that we do. Today we're diving into the world of height safety, thinking about how the industry has developed and changed in standards and why it matters. I'm happy to say today that we're joined by Tim Lee, Amiga Red Group's Technical and Compliance Manager. Hi, Tim.
Nick.
How are you? You okay?
Very well, thank you.
Thank you for coming to episode 2 of our podcast.
Thank you for inviting me.
No problem at all. Just so our viewers get to know who you are, it's really good we start these podcasts off just to give a bit of pedigree of your background, how you got into the height safety market and kind of what drives you in the role. So can you just give our viewers a little bit of a background to Tim Lee?
So I've been in the height safety industry for about 25 years.
You don't look old enough, Tim.
Well, thank you very much. I think there's probably not a defined career path coming into height safety, and I certainly didn't have one. By education, I'm a scientist. I did a master's degree in oceanography and an honours degree in zoology. Yeah. So that was my initial interest, and I worked for a couple of years as an oceanographer around the world. Wow. And worked in the Galapagos and places like that.
You've seen some places.
Seen some places. But at a point, I had to make the decision whether I continued on the world of academia and sort of PhD, or perhaps a bit more of a structured career path, mortgage and family and that kind of stuff. Responsibilities. So chose the latter and started actually with a height safety company as a. Well, it wasn't even in the height safety division. It was in the structural inspection division as an abseil operative.
Wow!
So it was using abseil techniques to examine building network rail structure, high level buildings, condition surveys.
Yeah. Class yourself as an adrenaline junkie, Tim?
Yes, I think maybe not a junkie, but I certainly enjoy the physical aspects of that, and sort of played rugby and always enjoyed that sort of physical role and being out there in the real world, so to speak, I guess. But the sort of the rigors of scientific background and report writing and attention to detail transitioned well to that, and sort of once I was in that field, a position came up in the actual height safety department, which was designing and installing and testing height safety systems. Sort of followed that path and worked my way up to sort of head of the department, and that's sort of how I got the start in the industry, really.
And what drives you in the role then?
It probably sounds a little bit corny, but it's a combination of things. Firstly, it's an interesting field.
Yeah, really interesting, especially things have evolved now, and then we'll get into where the height industry has come from and where it is now.
Absolutely. You see some very interesting places. I've been to 10 Downing Street, Houses of Parliament, clambered around roller coasters and skyscrapers and London Eye and all kinds of places. Wow. But the bottom line is, what we do, if we look at the fundamentals of it, what we do keeps people safe, saves lives, is the end result. So it's a worthwhile pursuit. You can see what you've done to help a client has made a difference. So that's the kind of thing that, on a day-to-day basis, gets me out of bed.
Lovely. Well, gives people real insight that says you're hanging off ropes, you're a junkie in regards to that adrenaline that you're looking for. And you've got the pragmatic approach based on what you've done previously as well, and getting to see some of the places that you've seen is a real eye-opener. But also you're working with people, are you? And you different cultures, and we'll probably get into what culture looks like in customers' culture when we're adopting these new standards. So this podcast is all around BS 7883 2019. But obviously that origin had a starting point, didn't it? You've talked about being in the industry for 25 years.
Yeah.
So that started back in 1997, did that British standard.
Yes.
So you must have seen some significant changes in how that first started out. So if you could just give us some insight into how people used to adopt that and what were some of the misconceptions and how it was being applied?
Yeah, I think 97, and that's the first iteration of the standard that we were working to when I first came into the industry. Yeah. It was very, very centric on individual anchor points, fixed anchor points.
Yeah.
Quite vague about responsibilities and design criteria. Mm-hmm. It was very focused on the application of a set 6 kilonewton test pull on an anchor point.
Yeah.
The later iteration, 2005, started to acknowledge the development, technological developments. Mm-hmm. Manufacturers were producing wire-based systems. It wasn't just an individual anchor anymore. Yeah. It was part of a much bigger component, of an overall system. Development, a bit more of responsibilities and roles, levels of competence that were required to do this.
Yeah.
Back at the start in 97, it was almost like a time-served grandfather's right kind of criteria. Through the iterations, and we'll talk about the latest one, it's become a lot more defined. How do you evidence your competence? Mm-hmm. How do you show that you're suitable, the right person, the right business to be designing these safety critical systems? Mm-hmm. That's the sort of the big transitions. It's the technologies developed leaps and bounds. Mm-hmm. Load limiting posts now that mean that the posts can be installed not down to steel structure or concrete deck. They can be fixed to the outer skin of a building membrane, a roof sheet. Yeah. It means that there's a lot more adaptation. There's a lot more flexible approach. Mm-hmm. Systems can be installed places that they couldn't use. They wouldn't used to be able to be used on.
Okay. And just going back then into that 97 view, is that what did you see as some of the real world failures and successes in how people are applying it? Because it's like everything you mentioned there, isn't it? That technology's changed, but back in 97 and people's mindset, we've all had to adapt to new technology, and it gives you a different viewpoint. What were you seeing through that lens at that point in time?
It was quite surprising on occasion. It was almost like the Wild West, you would suggest. It was unregulated, really. Uh-huh. So you would see systems put in at a price point on occasion. Yeah. Tick box exercise. QS needed to see part of their work package for protection system. Yeah. There wasn't really any due diligence done by that duty holder to say, how have you proven that system going in is the right system, the right solution? Mm-hmm. So typically you would see on a price point a wire-based system along a ridge with anti-pendulum posts. It does a job, but there are better ways of doing that job, and that was promoting a fall arrest scenario rather than a work restraint.
What are the ramifications or the potential risks of doing so? Could you just give us a bit of detail?
Yeah. So the sort of the first criteria, if you just had a single system and then anti-pendulum posts, that predisposes that you're going to use a very long lanyard. Yeah. Reaching out from that central wire to get to the edges of the roof, the corners of the roof. Yeah. Potential misuse. If you don't click to the anti-pendulum post, you could take a pendulum fall and could hit the floor before it stopped you.
Sort of defeats it.
Kind of defeats the purpose.
It does, yeah.
But that was the cheapest solution.
Yeah, got that.
Alternatively, if a system was routed in restraint, 2.3 meters back from a roof edge on a 2 meter lanyard fixed to a harness, the operative physically cannot get over the roof edge. Okay. You're removing the potential for fall. Yeah. You're removing, if somebody's fallen, they would need to be rescued. Mm-hmm. So you need to have that as part of your work scope. Yeah. People need to have a rescue kit with them. You can't depend on the third party to rescue you.
Absolutely.
you've got the potential for suspension trauma,
Yeah.
or you should not be promoting a fall arrest scenario for work restraint, or by preference, collectively protected workspace,
Yeah.
guardrail, operatives have got no potential to fall.
Yeah.
So that's we would see quite frequently systems routed that were actively promoting a fall protection route, or even systems that were routed over fragile skylights. Perception of safety.
Yes.
I'm attached to a system. Happy days.
Yeah.
Actually, if I just follow the route of that system, I am going to step on a fragile skylight.
Yeah.
These are the kind of things that perhaps a system designer had a concept, it was compromised by price, or worst case scenario, an installation team were given a bundle of components and said, put a system on there with no overarching design criteria, no design drawing for them to work from, no agreed principle.
So you've got ambiguity.
You've got ambiguity.
It's how I interpret how I'm going to lay that out on
and who was held responsible?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Whose name is on the bit of paper at the end of the day? If somebody's not taking overall responsibility, there's too many ways that can be compromised, really.
I'm guessing that based on what you were saying there as well in regards to technology driving the standards, I'm guessing 97 and onwards, modern kind of building design started to change.
Yeah.
People started to re-look at like ways and means of how buildings would be structured, weren't it? Did you start to see some impact in those areas, and that probably drove some of the standard changes?
Absolutely, yeah. I think the two are hand in hand, really.
Yeah.
Historically, you were sort of looking at Victorian engineering almost, that you were big, heavy posts bolted back to the structural steelwork or the concrete slab or whatever it may be. Developments of system design meant a system mounting post could be designed that under load deployed reduced the shock load or the force back to the building envelope.
Yeah.
It meant that these systems could be actually fixed to the top skin, the metal roof sheet of the building, rather than going and penetrating through.
Yeah.
So when you're looking at U values and thermodynamics and cold bridging, I think you're removing that kind of compromise to the building performance. Those kind of developments meant that these systems offered you the chance to fix systems to the top, the outer membranes of roof. But again, they're easily installed.
Yeah.
That opened up the field to a lot of players.
Yes.
That again, you'll see systems mounted on top of roofs that perhaps aren't routed as well as they could be or should be. So system development and progress, unless it's controlled by regulation, again means there are loopholes and ways that systems can be compromised, and at the end of the day, people's safety is compromised.
Yeah, and I think we mentioned, didn't we, about in some of those examples there that the less that you can reduce ambiguity, and then you've got that set structure of how you're applying the standards, the evidence that sits behind it, the design phase, and making sure that people have got roles defined in there. It's very, very clear and easier to manage, measure success in those areas. So you mentioned 97, some changes in 2005, and then obviously we get to the new standards in 2019. So if you look at where we are now, what's changed fundamentally from where its origination started from? Just give our kind of listeners an up-to-date view now of these are the significant changes.
So the principle's always the same.
Yes.
If you're designing and installing a system, it should be safe to use and it should be fit for purpose. 2019 has sort of recognised or addressed the fact that there were loopholes. There weren't very clear defined. The system designer, a named system designer, must be overall responsible for that system. The sort of supporting documentation, the levels of detail required, verification that a structural engineer has verified that structure can sustain the potential loads. You're evidencing any hidden elements. How have they been installed?
Yes.
What drill depth have you used into concrete slab? What resin have you used to fix your stud? What locking element, once that's covered up by a roof membrane, what's stopping that loosening? What locking elements have you used to ensure that it maintains integrity? If it's a hidden element, are you using corrosion resistant materials.
Yeah.
One of the things that 2019 is really highlighted that it is retrospectively applicable.
Mm-hmm.
Systems that used to pass no longer can because they
Yes.
haven't got the level of supporting documentation.
Yeah.
We've uncovered posts and found severe corrosion,
Mm-hmm.
or in some instances, fixings that have not been installed properly.
Mm-hmm.
But historically, for the past 10 years, that system looks okay.
Yes.
Assumptions were made.
Uh-huh.
Safety critical. We can't make assumptions.
No.
How are you clearly evidencing
Yeah.
that system is safe to use?
Yeah.
And that's the big change, the big sort of additional requirements of the standard as it is now.
Yeah.
It's that level of documentation.
Yes.
It's that proof
Uh-huh.
that what you've done what you said you were going to do,
Yeah.
and that also you've been diligent in how you've arrived at that solution.
Yeah. Essentially, it's like having an MOT engine, but then you go to a garage, well, you get an MOT with nothing that says, well, if it's failed it, why has it failed it? And then
Yeah.
you get the videos, don't you, from the garage now showing exactly the work that's been
Exactly.
undertaken.
Exactly.
It's the same principle. Actually, you're thinking people have been working at height all this time. Sure, that should have been in play previous to probably 2019, but it's the evolving world of the height safety industry, isn't it?
That's right. Exactly that.
And thinking some of those examples as well, you were talking about some of the intricacies and the technical components that go in there. So if I think about the technical skills that are required, you've got kind of design there, aren't you? The installation, the test and repair. What are some of the roles that are coming out there that people need to undertake and that the competence is required to do so?
So and this ties into 8681. So this is the other thing to be clear that 7883 is not a standard in isolation.
Mm-hmm.
It relates to 795 compliant anchor points. It also ties in 8681, which relates to the competency of people that are providing height safety
I
solutions.
think we'll get onto competency a little bit later on.
I
think it's tying those together into that. It's just not a standard by itself.
It's not standard by itself.
No.
It's more of a holistic approach, and it's how you're evidencing that you're competent. The 8681 standard is and 7883 is introduced the concept of as I've mentioned numerous times, system designer.
Yes.
Person that is responsible for that system. You've also then got installer.
Yeah.
Engineers on the site.
Mm-hmm.
You've got an inspector, somebody that comes back, and it's not necessarily the same company that is installed that will be inspecting.
Yeah.
So the 7883 is very clear about at point of installation, you're doing a series and raft of inspections, tests. You then also need to be telling subsequent people, maybe not in your own company, what they need to be doing to test and inspect that system.
Okay.
Periodicity, hidden elements, how frequently should they be uncovered, what portion should be uncovered, how are you documenting it. It's a much more robust framework.
Yeah, just listening to that example is making sure that you're passing on to that next person insight, knowledge, so they can do their job competently, whereas previously there's probably been a mishmash of different information or no information whatsoever, and people are then assuming that is safe to use.
Exactly that. They're applying a specific test load because they think that's the right load.
Yeah.
It might not represent what actually that system would be subjected to. So, again, very prescriptive, telling you in the O&M, test criteria, how you apply it, when you do it.
Okay. On these podcasts, we're trying to educate customers and give them the chance to look through a lens that go, actually, what do I need to look for? What does good look like? Because I'm actually going to hold you to account to make sure all that information that you've just provided is actually in play and people are delivering to the right standard. So what does good look like then? What information should a client, customer, be given at the end of that process, the start of that process? Is where you be going, if I'm getting it, great, but if not, alarm bells is it goes back to the competence then, does it potentially of the provider? What should I be looking for what good looks like?
If I was looking to employ a height safety company, I'd be asking, can you evidence the competence of your system designer?
Yeah.
What are their credentials?
What would you be looking for then in those areas though?
Again, 8681 is quite prescriptive. you're looking at specific NVQ levels. Level 5 for a designer, level 3 for an level 3 for an inspector or an installer.
Yeah.
So that's quite prescriptive. You're also then looking at level of experience, qualifications. Have they got a background in engineering?
Yeah.
Have they got a degree for a designer, for example? Are you manufacturer approved for the system you're proposing to install?
Yeah.
There's very specific training provided by manufacturers. Each system has different idiosyncratic testing requirements, very specific number of swage test. You can, if you apply your wrong test load, you can quite easily damage or render unusable or unsafe proprietary products. So you're looking at evidence and competency.
So I'm guessing then when you talk about that from a proprietary, like looking at people being on the relevant manufacturer's training, and so they know exactly the nuances that how that operates, because actually I could be doing a different pull test based on its requirements.
Yes, exactly that. I'd also then be asking, can you give me some examples of your test certification?
Yeah.
Your technical file, O&M, when you've installed a system. Give me some examples. Show me how you've mapped it against the standard, how you're meeting the requirements of the standard in your delivered documentation. Photographic evidence of hidden elements, evidence of test loads, proof tested applied, why you've applied that load, structural engineers calculations saying that concrete slab, that steel beam can take that potential load, manufacturer's declarations of conformity, delivery notes saying these are the materials that we've ordered and that have been installed on site. There's a whole raft of documentation, evidence to say this system's safe to use.
And it's that granularity, isn't it? It's no matter what point you can lift it up, have a look underneath, and you're looking for the substance that sits there. And ultimately, it's all anchored back though to level of competence as well, because I could have all the right kit and caboodle in place, but actually the competence then to apply and install in the right way, do the right calculations from a load bearing perspective. There's a hell of a lot there that an onus on the provider of that service then to make sure that they are competent, and we'll talk about that in a little bit more detail. When you get called into a site, what sort of things are you seeing now then? Because I'm guessing from that starting point to where we are now, and just for people to know what they should be measuring a provider against as well. When you get called in, what are customers saying to you and why they're calling you? What does that look like?
I think when we were looking at when 788 through 2019, and we have to acknowledge that COVID hit.
Oh yeah.
So there was a little bit of a delay in its adoption, and because of the industry recognised some of its impacts, there was a little bit of a delay in its uptake. Yeah. Initially, a lot of client conversations were, "This has always passed. Why has it now failed?" Yeah. It was an education piece, and it was this discussion we're having because there isn't the supporting documentation. Yeah. We as the certifying party cannot say we are 100% sure that system's safe to use. So there was that education piece that, as I say, systems passed, now it's failing. So almost there seems to be a lot more awareness across client bases now where they're almost saying, why is the system passing? Yes. There's almost an expectation.
Which is great.
That's how it should be.
We're educating people and we're making them all us to account as the providers in our industry. And I think that's really important, going back to what we mentioned right at the start of the podcast. This is about keeping people safe. So we should be able to be challenged around those areas and say, show me everything that evidence is in those areas. So I think it's been great for the industry. It has.
It really has. That just because you got a bit of paper, system's passed. Well, how has it passed? Yeah. What has enabled you to say that system is safe to use? That's what it always comes back to. Yeah. How are you evidencing that system is safe to use? And that awareness is so. Yeah, from a client interaction now, it's actually that. There is that level of awareness, and particularly that we're coming on to it. I think 86, 81 people appointing height safety specialists have a duty of care. Have you done your due diligence to evidence that you are the right person to be giving this solution to us? Yeah. So
I know from working alongside you and going out and doing some customer visits, because again, the customer always keeps you honest, don't they? And you want to make sure that we're giving the right level of service. I know that one of the starting points for you is about making sure you just understand that rooftop strategy first of all, because how can I give you a design and make sure it's fit for purpose? So just talk us through kind of some of the methodologies that you use in there, and have you got a case study where that's happened with a client where we've had to start the conversation, it's not fit for purpose, but let's go back to the start, because actually was that the right strategy for you to start off with?
Exactly, yeah. No, you're absolutely right. That's always the starting criteria. Why do you need to access that point?
Yeah.
What area? You could have a large roof.
Mm-hmm.
Do you need to access all of the roof?
Mm-hmm.
A portion of the roof? Can we give you a designated safe workspace within a larger roof area?
Yeah.
Has something changed on that roof that
Mm-hmm.
means that you now need to do something that you weren't doing before?
Yeah.
And we've got some great case studies with developments on sort of building developments and energy production, PV arrays, roof spaces that were not previously being accessed are now being accessed in PV arrays. People having to get up there to service them, maintain them, clean them. That's one of the big developments. And typically, PV arrays going onto a roof space, they want to maximise that layout.
Yeah.
So by definition, they're right up to the roof edge,
Mm-hmm.
or
Yeah.
they're right next to a fragile skylight.
Yeah.
You've got to address all these.
Uh-huh.
A wire system routed at 2.3 metres back is going to compromise your PV array layout.
Yes.
So these are the conversations that we're having. And sometimes the PV array's gone in. It's like, well, actually, we need to make it safe now. So then you are looking at collective protection at the roof edge and skylight covers to remove so that entire roof space becomes a safe area.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's understanding exactly what needs to be done, why you're doing it, the level of competence of people that are going up there.
Yeah.
That's always a key one.
Yeah.
Just because you've got a system, are the people using it competent to be using that system?
Yeah.
So those are the kind of criteria. And there's some very complex, high-profile buildings that we get involved with where historically systems have been in place, they've been used, and they are no longer compliant against the standard. It's almost a reset.
Yeah.
You've used a wire-based system there, personal fall protection. It's almost a clean slate. You should really be considering going up the hierarchy of control measures. Collective protection as a first priority. And that's one of the things that this latest iteration of the standard has driven, is that if you're condemning a system, why would you just put in like for like?
Yeah.
Let's have a think about how we would elevate safety across the site.
And then throughout this podcast, you've been talking about 8681 and about how that now plays alongside 7883. So just going to give our viewers then a bit of a breakdown then about what BS 8681 is looking at when it comes to demonstration of competency of the individual. And again, what does good look like in those areas? Because I'm guessing they'll see an array of different people turn up to their site that's in this market, and they need to look at what good looks like and the evidence that sits behind it.
Well, I think we've touched on it that there are the very specific defined roles: system designer, system installer, system inspector, support operative. Each one of those the standard now is quite prescriptive on the level of qualification they should have.
Yes.
So show me your qualifications.
Yeah.
If you're a system designer, what is your education?
Yes.
How are you evidencing that you have knowledge of the industry, you have knowledge of different manufacturers, you have knowledge of engineering principles, you understand that a point load on a wire system can be magnified greatly at the endpoints, and then you have to apply a factor of safety to those endpoints as well. So what is the resultant design load going to be back to the structure? These kind of criteria. That how are you showing me that you're the right person to do this task on this site? Show me some examples of what you've done before. That's the kind of thing. It's not just about the individual as well. It's how, as a business, how are you showing that you are controlling that process, that you're making sure that all the operatives, you haven't just got one superstar, everyone's playing at the same level or being brought to that level. Are your systems robust? Or is your documentation mapped against the standard? Does your test criteria evidence that you've done each point that a manufacturer requires you to do to say that system's installed as they would require it to be? So those are the kind of kind of.
So it's changed significantly when it comes to the competency levels, isn't it? I suppose it's some of the behaviours that people started to demonstrate as well, isn't it? And what have you seen in the way of the interaction with customers, in like what they're looking for in our competency levels and the levels of checking they do before we get into site, when we send it with probably with the RAMs and about coming to site?
Yeah.
How vigorous are customers in making sure, and are they aware of H6, H1, of how that's been applied? Because it all takes about momentum into it, and that's fairly new into the market.
It's 2024 was its first iteration. There is awareness, there's a growing awareness, but I think it's incumbent as on us in the industry to also push it from our end.
Absolutely.
I think, as I mentioned, I think there's a knowledge across the client base now that of 7883 and why systems are failing, and as I say, the question is almost, well, how are you justifying that systems are passed now? Which is a great position to be in.
Absolutely.
The evidencing of competence from clients, most tender inquiries now, or if you're looking at producing RAMs, or produced a RAMs last week, and the client was asking for evidence of competencies. Great stuff. Which is as it should be.
Absolutely, and that's it. We've been held to account to say, are you going to deliver and make sure that I'm compliant in each of these areas? So it's great to see, and we've said it's about, part of this podcast is about raising the bar, and these standards are taking us to another level. It's that level of accountability.
It is, and it's becoming, as I said, back in '97, a little bit of the Wild West, unregulated largely, to where we are now is a massive development. And it is driving that base level of competence, and being able to show that the systems that we are installing or putting our names to and testing, end of the day, they're safe to use.
Yes,
and they will save lives.
Well, that's a great place to be in, isn't it? So we've covered off quite a bit there, Tim, and I think it's been great and how you brought that to life and just trying to clearly articulate all the different components. And we didn't want to go into too much detail. It was the starter for 10 in these podcasts, and we'll probably spend more time as we go through some of our extra episodes in really probably going a little bit more technical.
Yep.
But if you think about some of the golden nuggets and takeaway, then if I've got a supplier coming to site to give a service, what are the things that I should be looking at as a customer before I'm allowing that person onto the premises?
It comes back to it's not take my word for it. Yeah. It's like, here is the evidence that I am going to give you best advice based on clear rationale. I understand exactly why a system should be designed how it is, and what is the best solution to keep the people that you're putting to work safe.
Yeah.
It's basically it's an evidence based how are you evidencing your competence.
Yes. And what about the reporting then? Just some of the nuggets you'd be looking for, because I think that's an area, isn't it, where you turn around and go.
That's clearly demonstrable. Yeah.
Yes.
So if you were looking at a sort of certification that somebody had provided for a system, you would want to be saying how are you evidencing that that's mapped against the standard?
Yeah.
How are you showing that you're compliant to what the standard requires? So it would be clearly itemizing roles and responsibilities, who's done what their qualifications are, exactly what they've done and why they've done it. Yeah. So it's manufacturer-specific items, swage test to whatever kilonewtons, proof test of if it's hidden fixings on a toggle fix proprietary post, have you done an actual pull test to prove that those fixings have engaged? Yeah. Have you got photographic evidence of that? There should be photos.
Yeah.
There must be photos. It's not, well, we did that. Yeah. Tick. We did that. Here's the evidence. Torque tests. Are you evidencing the torque test you've applied?
Yeah.
Does your certificate say this system is compliant? It can be compliant to the manufacturer's requirements. Yeah. Doesn't mean it's safe to use. In isolation, a system could be well installed right on the edge of a roof. What's the bigger picture?
Yeah.
is there a statement saying this system is safe to use with this certain PPE, and this will mean that you are working in restraint?
Okay, yeah. Be very clear.
Is it very clear and prescriptive?
Yeah.
What scenario is it providing?
Yeah.
And if an operative uses that right selection of PPE, they will be safe.
Yeah. I'm right in saying either some of the calibration of the kit, whether actually doing
absolutely, yeah. You're quite right.
But one of the things sometimes that people overlook is you go, right, I've got them on doing it and they've got the evidence, but actually is the kit that they've used to start off with giving them the right readings.
And that, you're quite right, that maps back to the standard.
Yeah.
What kit have you used?
Yeah.
Hydraulic test meter. Is it in calibration?
Yeah.
Prove, mate, where's your calibration cert? Is that embedded in that report?
Yeah.
It's that kind of granularity.
Yeah.
There's nothing to hide. This is what we're doing. This is why we've done it.
Yeah.
This is why we're now saying you can use that system.
Yeah. Which, just thinking about where it's come from to where it is now, massive shifts into it. And it's, what's the kind of the final takeaway for you then? What do people just need to think about?
The bottom line is always, is that system safe to use? Have I done everything I can as either the person that's designing or specifying or installing that system, or the person that's employing somebody to maintain that system, the person that's putting their guys to work to use that system?
Yeah.
Can you categorically say that system is safe to use? You can only do that if you can evidence it.
Yeah.
Would you use that system yourself?
Yeah.
Would you put your family members on that system?
That's the acid test.
That's the acid test.
Yeah. Listen, really great that you've given us so much insight there. Thank you for your time. Hopefully people have taken a lot where the purpose behind these podcasts is just to get people to think, and maybe there is that realisation as actually we do some of those elements or we don't do some of these, and getting people to really think about how they're managing their supply chain, and ultimately if we can raise the bar in what are people observing and assessing and keeping people like ourselves as the provider of those services are held to account, then we keep elevating and making sure that we're taking our industry into the right area. And you've seen massive changes in 25 years. It'd be great to see what it looks like in another 5 year with technical advancements as well, isn't it?
It will. And that's one of the joys of the industry. There is always something new. And that again, that's one of our responsibilities, is to keep abreast of new developments and embrace them and put them into the real world scenario.
Yeah, and I think part of the mechanism as well, and part of your role as our compliance technical manager, sat on the technical committee, we've got some real substance now that sits behind holding ourselves to account as a business. And I suppose that's really important that you'd be looking for in other organisations, is how well is that technical committee looking at that forward view? Yeah,
absolutely.
What do you see in way of the technical committee in kind of just some of its deliverables? And
I think it's ensuring that it's a uniformity of quality. It's best in practice is adopted.
Yes.
It's not an outlier. This is what we do as a collective. It's that if you're dealing with us as a business, you can expect this level of criteria, level of performance across the board. That's one of the things. And as you say, keeping people aware of latest changes, developments. Things are always progressing. Are we adopting them? Are we making sure that we want to be ahead of the curve? That's
It's always feeding back into 8681. It's about talk about that level of competency, because if things are changing, is what's coming down the pipe, and how do we make sure then that we're keeping that level of competence and kicking the skill set of the team further forward to make sure then that we are doing best in class.
Yep.
Well, Tim, really thank you for your time. I've enjoyed the conversation, and like I say, 25 years in the industry. Let's see what it looks like in another 10 years' time. So thank you very much.
My pleasure.
All it leaves me to do now is to say thank you for watching and listening to the podcast. Next month, we'll be talking with our project manager for Power Earthing, which is Dave Willits. Dave is looking after special projects, and again, he will start to give us some insight in regards to what it looks like in way of implementation of Power Earthing, what the deliverables are, and ultimately what does a good project look like from design through to delivery. And that's just our ways and means of educating people in all our different disciplines from a Mega Reg perspective. So I'd like to say thank you for watching or listening, depending on how you're consuming it, and we'll see you in next month's podcast. Thanks for your time.